Hello, Chris, and hello to all the Tottenham Hotspur fans out there. My name is Jonathan Greenwood, and I'm a part of Newcastle Fans TV. I'm one of the main presenters for the channel. In terms of wanting to get all the best Newcastle United content out there, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Newcastle Fans TV. And we're also available on YouTube as well, Newcastle Fans TV as well. So it's quite easy to follow us. Chris has asked me to do a generic preview of Newcastle United right now, my thoughts as well on both teams, Newcastle and Tottenham. First things first, let's talk about Newcastle right now and the season so far. The last few weeks have been absolutely fantastic. They've been really, really good so far. Ever since Newcastle lost to Brentford in early December, I was there at the G-Tech, we lost 4-2, and we were thinking, wow, maybe Newcastle aren't as good as we make out. But ever since then, we've won against the likes of Brentford in the Cup, but we've also beaten Leicester, Ipswich, Aston Villa and Manchester United. The last two games in particular really do stand out. Aston Villa being very, very good for the last couple of seasons under Unai Emery. And Manchester United at Old Trafford, it hasn't been the best place for Newcastle United. So to get wins in both of those games, I think there's a little bit of a statement. And it is becoming now a very, very busy month for Eddie Howe and his side. The Carabao Cup semi-final is on the horizon where we take on Arsenal over 2 legs. We take on Spurs, of course, on Saturday, but then 3 days later we stay in North London to take on Arsenal at the Emirates. So it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of month progresses. But from a Newcastle fan point of view, you know, everybody's just excited right now. There's a lot more optimism. It's amazing what a few wins can do. But when you've won 5 in a row, you're ultimately going to have that positivity going into what's going to be a difficult game against Spurs on Saturday lunchtime. The manager, in terms of Eddie Howe, it's funny because every time when Newcastle have I suppose a mini crisis, if you like, or results aren't going the way they want it to be, the press in particular will jump on the fact, well, Newcastle are the richest club in the world, they can get any manager they want, it within reason, I suppose. But Eddie Howe just keeps on shutting it down. He's so... the best way to put it, he's boring, but it's a good boring, if that makes sense. So, yeah, in that sense, any sort of criticism of the team, in terms of the management, the players, he just bats it away and will try and improve next week. And on the whole, since he's been at Newcastle, he's done an absolutely tremendous job. And again, he's shutting down the critics. If you keep winning games, you will shut down the critics. And 5th in the Premier League, still in the Carabao Cup at the semi-final stage, you know, not a million miles away from winning a trophy, which we haven't done God knows how long. That is probably the only thing that Eddie Howe has not done, is, like many Newcastle managers, not get a trophy. If he does that, he creates his own history. He may even get a statue. He probably does if we win the Carabao Cup, because it'll mean that much to everybody here on Tyneside. And that brings me up to the realistic aims and ambitions of Newcastle United, because right now, we don't know what's realistic at the minute because we are playing so well. In my personal opinion, before balls kicked at the start of the season, Champions League football was realistic because of the fact we're only playing 1 game a week. The likes of Spurs, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, they're going to be playing 2-3 games a week. So Newcastle have to capitalise on that. They're in an okay position right now in terms of that. We've now a couple of points away from Forest to a second, believe it or not, or in Arsenal as well. So, you know, we're not a million miles away, but we still need to try and cut that gap in terms of the top 4 and, you know, try and keep away from the other teams trying to get past us, which, of course, I will include Tottenham because they've got some outstanding players and they have got a good manager. I do believe that Ange is a very, very good manager. I just think, look, injuries have been very, very difficult for Tottenham this season. There's no 2 ways getting around that. I think, like a lot of Spurs fans, and I can understand it completely, I do think, even though Ange's so, you know, what's the best way of putting it? Is he so arrogant about his plan A? Maybe try and make plan A better if you can, but maybe also look at a plan B, particularly when you have those many injuries. And, you know, some of the defeats that Spurs have had in recent weeks, you can go, if you change it up a little bit, it could be better. It could be better. You know, Forest away is a tough game. Liverpool at home's a tough game. But Liverpool at home shouldn't be 6-3. It shouldn't. It should be a little bit closer than that if the manager probably thinks about changing it slightly, but maybe he is too arrogant, if you like, not to do that. So I can understand Spurs fans' frustrations. They shouldn't be where they are on the table, in my opinion. They should be competing with Newcastle, Aston Villa, Chelsea at this moment in time, in terms of trying to get into the Champions League. And I think that is very much a realistic expectation for Tottenham. But there is pressure on them, and maybe it's a good time for Newcastle to take on this Spurs side. They really, really need to try and get some sort of, I suppose, motivation or a bit of a boost going into the Carabao Cup game against Liverpool. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see what happens there. My favourite Spurs Newcastle memory, obviously it's St James, it's the 6-1. But if I'm going to go in terms of what it was like, in terms of Tottenham versus Newcastle, it have to be the 1-0 in the first time that Newcastle came to the new stadium. Joe Linton, 1-0, didn't see it coming at all. Spurs had just obviously got to the Champions League final of the season before, thinking a draw would be unbelievable. But to get a win, it was incredible. What a day that was. The sun was shining. It was the day that Ben Stokes won the Test match for England as well. So for the cricket fans out there, it was absolutely brilliant as well. In terms of Spurs, do I fear any players right now? And would anybody get into Newcastle starting 11? Look, going forward, the likes of Brennan Johnson, Dejan Kulusevski, Sun Solanke, that is a very good four on paper. Defensively, when fit, Van der Ven. Yeah, really do like Van der Ven a lot. I don't think Dragison's that bad, but he's not Van der Ven, but he's still very, very good. Romero blows a bit hot and cold for me, but he's still, obviously he's won a World Cup, so he is a very, very good defender. But the forward and attacking line are the players I'll be looking at from a Newcastle point of view, going, can we try and keep them quiet as much as possible? But I would say Kulusevski's probably been the one standout. I think Solanke's done pretty well considering the fact that it has been a big, big money move from Bournemouth. And to join obviously a big club like Tottenham, there is that pressure as well. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. But I think Kulusevski could probably get into Newcastle's team on that right hand side as well. But he's got to try and get past Jacob Murphy, who's been on form. But if we're putting the two players together, Kulusevski over a longer period of time has been better than Jacob Murphy. In terms of Newcastle players to look out for, Alexander Isak, Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, and Anthony Gordon. They're the main players for me right now. We can talk about the defence a little bit later in terms of the tactical setup, but Tonali as that number 4, number 6 role at times has been outstanding. He's been a revelation since Eddie Howe made that subtle change to putting Bruno Guimaraes as an 8 and rather Bruno being the anchor, if you like. That has been a massive, massive positive impact for Newcastle United. But Alexander Isak, 12 goals in the last 13 games in all competitions. The man is on fire right now. The most annoying, irritating thing is that Arsenal fans think they can get him for 150 million quid. He's not on loan to Newcastle. Newcastle can ask for whatever they want. So that does annoy me. So I can understand why you get a bit annoyed with Arsenal fans as well, Tottenham fans out there, because it is really, really irritating, to put it politely. But he is just so dominant at the minute. He's so good with the ball at his feet. I think he'd be licking his lips against Fraser Forster, the former Newcastle goalkeeper as well. So yeah, Alexander Isak in particular is the one to watch out. Anthony Gordon's been, electric as well. The goal against Aston Villa and the assist against Manchester United. He's on a bit of form as well now. So it is something to really look forward to. We always feel like we're going to score. And I'll talk about obviously my prediction at the end of the game. But he's a spoiler. There's definitely going to be goals in this game because of how both teams will go at each other, I suppose. How am I expecting the game to go? Well, Tottenham and Newcastle both like to press, so it'll be interesting to see if any other manager, or Eddie Howe, will let the other team have a bit more possession. I can't see a 0-0 by any stretch of the imagination. I think the way that Newcastle will look at it and go, well, we're not going to change, and I think Tottenham aren't going to change, so they're almost going to counteract each other at times. It will be very much end-to-end. It's just which defence for me will be better. And I know Spurs have got injuries, but tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I would imagine it'll be Pedro Porro, Dragusin, Archie Gray and Jed Spence, because I think the doggy's out for a few weeks as well. Like, that defence doesn't scare me. Porro and Dragusin on the right-hand side is stronger, obviously, than the left, but I think Newcastle have got something to go at. From a Tottenham side of things, no Fabian Schär for us. Maybe they may target a Lloyd Kelly, who will probably take his place, who's obviously not a natural right-footed player, he's a left-footed player, probably playing in that position. So it will be interesting to see how both teams will go toe-to-toe to each other, I suppose, in the next in that 90 minutes, because there is chances for both teams to capitalise on. If we're being really honest, I think our midfield's a lot stronger than Spurs' midfield at this moment in time. It's a lot more confident at this moment in time. And that may be where Newcastle can gain the advantage and get the 3 points. But we're talking key battles throughout the pitch. But can Newcastle maybe dictate in midfield? Is probably what I'm hoping for from a Newcastle fan point of view. Look, I've spoken about Isak before. He is that good. I think he's the best Premier League striker right now. Haaland will probably just about edge it because of the amount of goals he scores. But Isak is an all-round striker. Is there anyone better? I don't think so. I don't think so right now. He has been that good so far. So Alexander Isak for me, look, he will be. If Newcastle can keep a hold of him, well done to Newcastle United. But I think he'll go right to the very top. I think he'll go right to the very top. A Real Madrid, a Bayern Munich, a Barcelona. I think he's that good. I honestly do. I think he's scoring goals for fun for us, and we're not even in the top 4 at the moment in time. And he's making defenders look silly at times, and I think that's probably the scary thing. And look, he will be. Promise me, I'll promise you right now, Tottenham fans, he will be at a Real Madrid or that size club. He won't be at an Arsenal. Forget about them. He'll be at a Real Madrid, in my opinion. And just finally, my predicted 11 for Newcastle will be Mark Dubravka in goal. Back 4, I think it'll be Tino Livramento, Lloyd Kelly, Dan Bird and Lewis Hall. Midfield of Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton, with Gordon and Murphy on the wings and Alexander Isak up front. I think I've already spoken a little bit more in terms of tactically how Newcastle will set up. I think obviously you'll see Lewis Hall and Livramento bomb up down the full-back positions as well. So that's another string to Newcastle's bow, that they have got 2 very young and energetic full-backs. And we've also got former Tottenham full-back Kieran Trippier on the bench as well, who may come in. I'll be surprised if he does start, because he's played the last 2. And the fact he hasn't played 3 games a week in a long, long time. So I think that's where Livramento will get the nod. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game. I think it'll be a fantastic game, because Spurs like to play a fantastic game in terms of how they approach games. Newcastle will be very, very similar. How do I see the game going? I think Newcastle will just nick it, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's a draw. But I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle, with Isak and a late goal for Harvey Barnes off the bench. There you go, something a bit different for Newcastle out there. But yeah, again, make sure, if you want all the best Newcastle United content, subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV on YouTube. If you want to give us a like, and on the likes of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, by all means, that'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. But yeah, I will say I'll wish you all the very best after Tottenham versus Newcastle. But yeah, my name's Johnny, and that was the Tottenham versus Newcastle United opposition preview.